This is Len Marshall, your conservative independent, with my third issue of this important series. It seems billionaires and dictators have many traits in common. They all show flashes of extreme brilliance coupled with extreme luck to propel them to the top of whatever heap they were aiming at. Without that coinciding stroke of luck, that flash would have been just that, an unseen flicker that would have disappeared in an uncaring universe. It could be any type of luck, physical attributes, birth, and their circumstance. Sometimes what we call luck is due to hard work and diligence. Whether that work is legal or moral has no bearing on being successful, just whether it's legal or moral. This brings us to today's message. Most of today's big actors on the national stage all have an unbounded appetite for more wealth, power, and influence. They are supremely overconfident in themselves, don't take advice from others, and don't care what their actions will cause. This leads them to make bad investments, mismanage and waste people and resources, make unethical and costly mistakes, and can cause untold death and destruction if they are left unopposed. We can see these traits in today's leaders and from those in the past. Compare the traits and actions of Putin and Trump. Except for the current war, you could interchange their photos and actions that the media have fed us, and nobody would be able to tell them apart. Indeed, Trump is the one usually wearing the red hat. Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Gates, et al. All share many of the same traits, and their lives, successes, and failures all seem to follow similar trajectories. What makes them different from the rest of us is that they have their initial successes that can fund their failures, and they can continue, undeterred with their schemes well into the future, while a major failure would derail everyone else. They can continue to bore holes to nowhere, blow up rockets, metify the world, and introduce the world to Clippy and the Windows Phone, and continue on their merry way, at least for a while. Putin, Assad, Kim Jong-un, etc. all follow the same scripts and tell the same lies to their own people and to the world. Here in the good old USA, our politicians lie to us and use the free press to get them elected and to keep them in power. Different strategy, same result. Bad and destructive government with schemes to keep itself in power regardless of the outcome. L. Frank Baum was right. If we don't pull back the curtain, we will never get out of Oz. As the most powerful democracy in the world, we have a duty to ourselves and to the world to do the right thing and literally keep it from blowing up. To do this, we must get our own house in order and fix our political system. We must restore confidence in the system and elect representatives and leaders who are determined to do the right thing for the people, the country, and the world. We are told that voting is the key to our democracy, and that's a lie. Just voting does nothing but fool everyone into thinking that they have done their civic duty and can now go home and watch a bunch of overpaid performers on Sunday afternoon, while letting our elected officials run us into the ground. The most important part of the process has been hidden, lost, or stolen from us all during the last 200 years. If you don't have control over who is on the ballot and control of the voting districts, your vote doesn't count. If you don't know your representative, your vote doesn't count. Time is short to fix these problems. We can restore the House of Representatives to its constitutional design and make sure that our representatives reign in the Supreme Court and the executive and pass proper constitutional laws for federal elections. With Moore v. Harper in the Supreme Court right now, your rights to where and for whom you are allowed to vote is being seriously eroded, locking districting power into state legislatures and blocking federal, state court, and even governors from oversight of districts and election operations. If we are going to leave our elections to apparatchiks and commissars, we might as well live in Russia, since our votes will have already been tallied before the election. That's why Article the First is so important. We must return the power of choice to all the people as prescribed in the Constitution. We must also educate and inform all of our citizens, young and old, about our real history and why this country is among the greatest that have ever existed. The hows and whys are in the book, How Less is More, the story of the real First Amendment to the United States Constitution. It gives you the real unvarnished story of the forming of our country and Constitution, and gives us the necessary facts about the Article the First and how we can redirect our democratic republic towards the intended ideals of the founders. Today, January 3rd, 2023, is an extremely important and instructive day. The House of Representatives just allowed George Santos to be seated and to misrepresent the citizens of the 3rd District of New York. Literally a liar and fraud, he could not be barred from taking a seat in Congress due to the U.S. Supreme Court ruling handed down in 1969's Powell v. McCormick. The court ruled at that time that while Congress can make its own rules regarding current members, they have no power prior to that time over a non-member. If you have a long memory, Congress decided to not allow Adam Clayton Powell Jr. to be seated after he had won the 1966 election. He was a great, charismatic, and flamboyant character who had many friends and accumulated many enemies while being embroiled in several questionable deals and scandals, and Congress was determined to be rid of his character. That wasn't the end of the story. Powell went to the courts and finally convinced the Supreme Court to review the case after being turned away by the state and federal courts. In the meantime, Powell ran for re-election and once again won his seat, and this time the House had to let him be seated. This again underscores the importance of Article the First. Our country was designed to be governed by honest, fair, educated, moral people. If implemented, it will go a long way towards reestablishing good governance in our country. The world is far too dangerous place for us to allow dishonest, unfair, poorly educated, and immoral people in our government. I wonder if Congress will do the same thing, the right thing, today. Well, as it turned out, they didn't. It's now January 4th, and the Congress can't even agree on a majority leader. Do you really want to leave our country in their hands?